Welcome back. So one of the things I've been working on, of course, was this area over here, because I established this as my blackest black. So this is where I wanted to get this the darkest color I could. And I don't know if you can see it. I could see it a little bit. So see all the colors that's kind of bouncing around in there? We've got, because I put so many different layers of colors in there, we've got purples and reds and greens bouncing around. It's all dry now. And then I went back in with a few other extra colors to kind of give us some more colors there. So we've got those going on in there. So this is my darkest. So and it's really startling here how light this is. But this is where some of this light color is coming in. This is where the highlights are. So this is gonna, eventually this will fade into the darkness and we'll be layering more colors on here. And then this is gonna get dark also here, but that's gonna take more layers of work. And then so we're gonna be working on that. So this is my darkest dark. So I've established that as my darkest spot. And this is my second darkest spot as I'm looking at this. Now it looks a lot darker here, but doesn't look quite as dark here. When I'm looking at this one, I can actually see some of the highlights and some of the actual molding that was around these windows, and I think you can actually see a little bit of it there as I'm looking at it. So I want it to be a little bit lighter, but not this light. So I need to definitely darken this up. So I'll probably do that sometime when I'm not actually on camera. So just go ahead and watch for that. But you'll be able to see that. But what I want to do right now is I want to start working on the face and start working on some of the details of the face. Because as I'm looking at this, look at how dark this area is over here. So I definitely want to darken up this, but I want it to be not as dark as this. So I need to step these. So now I know how dark these need to be. So that's why I went to how dark is this, and then now I know what these are supposed to be. So when I know how dark this is, this needs to be darker. Now this needs to really darken up. No, sweetie. You're a good girl. Yes, you need to go back to sleep while Mama works. Okay, so this is still too light here, so we need to actually warm this up and do some more work here. As we can see here, see how dark this is around in here. So we'll need to warm this up here, and there's some darkness here. We've got this nice light spot up here, so we don't have to worry about that, but we'll need to make sure that we don't work too many, colors in there, so that we can make sure to actually save that. So another thing, I've already started downloading some of the stuff that I had as far as so this is my burnt ochre I'm going to get started with. So I'm just going to start working some of this color in while I talk. So I've already started, and remember, circles, 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 really light when we start out, and we start working it in. Yes, Pie Wagon. Yes, hello, Miss Pie Wagon. So I have a Kit Kat on my shoulder. Yes. Yes, you are so much help, honey. So I started downloading some of the current video I did, and I started looking at it and realizing how much shake there was. So I actually did some work and isolated out my camera so that it's no longer actually on my table. So hopefully we're not going to have any shake. But I did realize, boy, it really let you know when I was really pushing on the paper there. So I'll just have to make sure to let you know when I'm really pushing down on it. So here we go. Just a little bit of color up in here. Here we go. And then let's work underneath here. Let's start getting some definition underneath here, around in here. Now, as I'm looking at her face, see how this curve here around her eye, and up in here there's a little dip, and I've lost that. This is flattened out a little bit too much. So when I go to darken this down, I'll be able to correct that. But right now, I need to start putting those details in here. That's why I'm kind of doing the face now, to start getting some of those details in. Because see all this dark stuff around here, all of that has just been lost because I've been not concentrating on the details too much. I've been working on just the generals. Yes, Pyewacket. Let's keep the tail out. So let's continue to warm up this area over here. So this is where this comes in. Now we're going to need to keep this nice and light. Keep track of your lights, because you don't want to lose all of that. Because once that's gone, it's going to be really tough to get it back. Okay, so this is where it gets all really nice and dark. So we're going to come back in with our blues, but when we do that, we don't want to actually lose all of that to get it to go to blue. So let's go ahead and put our nice browns in here. And as I'm looking, can you see the reflected light here? Let's make sure that we don't lose that also. And let's look down here on this chin. See this? See this reflected light also down here? Yep, we're going to need to keep that also. So we're looking at the details now and making sure what we're doing is to keep all of those details. So keep very aware of our lights and our darks. And I need to get a Pyewacket out of my arms so that I can do this properly. Pyewacket, why are you all of a sudden helping me draw? Huh? What's up with that? This isn't a keyboard. I thought kitties only got on keyboards. Hi, honey. I'm just thankful she doesn't like to rub up against my pencil as I'm doing stuff. At least she's a good enough Kit Kat for that. I do tend to get some help though when I'm working. Where you going? Where you going? Yes, yes. Yes, you're my good girl. Hi. Yes. Oh my goodness. What are you doing now? No. Okay. Off. Off. Yes. Off. That's a good girl. Okay. Okay, so there's that one. So now we're going to come back in with our burnt umber. This is a much darker brown. So again, circle circles. We don't want to put in a pattern, but we're building up our colors here. And building up our darkness. So we're not going strictly to black or blue. Never go black. We're going to blue. Okay. And here we go. Working this in. Okay, let's work around the nose a little bit. Work around this nose. So I have already been working on the video, like I said, and I already have over an hour's worth of video for this. So it's going to be a long video. And bear with me for the video, for the instructions. But I think you'll enjoy it. I know I've been enjoying doing this one. I just hope you will too. Okay, so I'm being very careful about where I'm putting my darks here because I want to make sure that I'm preserving the glasses so that I'm actually keeping the frame, because the frame is actually lighter in some of these areas. Okay. While I'm working on these eyes. Okay. Alrighty. So that's all nice and light. Here's a little darkness here around this. And let's start putting in the darkness around here. Let's see, that's kind of a brown too, but it's a lighter shade of brown. And that's kind of a cream. Let's put this cream color in now. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so let's work on doing these. Getting those, we're going to get these glasses in here. And that'll help us out a little bit, I think. So that we know where they're sitting at. Alrighty, let's take this all the way out there. shadow in. Don't forget your shadows. Shadows are very important. Shadows give you the 3-dimension. Okay, so had to take a quick pit stop break there. Had a problem with the chip, so had to put in a new chip. So had to take a quick break there. And while I was doing that, I noticed something real quick, and that is that this that I put in, because I broke my concentration, I actually put it down too far. If you look over here at this picture, you can see that it actually comes up higher on her glasses. So when I started looking at that, I realized that I had actually not tipped the glasses enough here and here. So then I started actually taking a few more looks at a few more things and realized that I had made a distortion and the glasses were actually not large enough. Is what I thought first, and then I started looking and realized that I actually had not tipped the glasses enough. I actually had made a change in the angle of her glasses, as you can see here, as to here. So gonna have to make some real quick corrections and see if I can get this. Now I don't have any water on any of this, so I might be able to erase some of this and make some changes in it. So let's see how well we can do with our erasing. Now this over here, so I went back in and using my relationships. I'm always harping on everyone to make sure that you get them all right before you get started with this stuff. To make sure that it's right, let me get the black one here. It's a little easier to see what I'm doing. Before you get to this point, don't get too far ahead of yourself. Make sure you've got what you need where you need it. Because once you get started, it can get really tough to make the kind of corrections you're needing. Okay, so we've got this here that needs to change. This angle is wrong. So let's see if I can get that one. And so this is wrong over here. So let's see if I can get that to change. If not, we can come back in at a later date and start seeing if we can incorporate this. Sometimes it's just better to see how I screw up and how I fix things. Sweetie, you helped out way too much on our last time around, so you're going to have to go find a napping spot. Okay, so let's come back in with our brown, because I lightened this up a little bit too much, so let's darken this back down. And our indigo blue. Take this back to where it needs to be. Okay. Okay. So, where the changes are is that I've got the angle wrong. So this needs to change over here. This is right here, but it needs to go this way. No, honey. Mama's working. Okay, and now I'm going to need to put her eye back in because I lost her this part when I started making changes. Okay, so what I need to make sure is that when I'm making these changes, I just don't start not paying attention to the details and make sure that I get the details correct in here again. There we go. Make sure I'm coming out far enough, but not too far. I don't want to get this all screwed up again accidentally. Okay, got that. Yep. Making changes. Trying to stay as light as I can with this brown in order to make sure that I'm not putting this on too dark. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Now this actually comes up this far and comes down here. That seems wrong too. So let's check this again and see what I've got going wrong here. That's what I got going wrong. Okay. There we go. Sweetheart. Some days you are just too much help. Okay, here we go. So let's move in a little bit. Let's reform some of her forehead here so that she's not looking like she's got some kind of a flat, strange forehead. There we go. That looks a little better. Okay, and now I can come in with this and help pull this out with this blue. Now normally I don't like to put this many layers on at one time, but it's kind of helping me reformat where these glasses are. No, you be good. So that I can actually see where everything's at. Yeah, that looks much better. So I'm just going to have to be very, very careful when I come in with my watercolor to make sure that I'm not pushing this too fast. I might have to put my Kit Kat out. She's just demanding a little bit too much now. Okay, let's darken this side in a little bit more. This is my burnt umber. I'll get back to this here in a second. As we can see from the photo, this over here, this is almost so dark that it just almost blends right into this here. And look at how light we have this here. So we need to definitely build this up over here, because we need to have some darks over here to help balance this out a little bit more. Now again, we need to pay attention to the details because we can see these lights, reflections here. So I don't want to lose all of this nice stuff going on. So pay attention to what's going on for our details. And then there's these little swoopy things up here on her face from the light reflections. Don't want to lose all of that either. Again, circles, circles, circles. Keeping it nice. Keeping it light. Almost just barely touching over here. pressing down a lot harder over here. I've isolated my camera so you don't get the shake now like you did. But yeah, pressing down really nice and hard over here. Okay, so I know that the glasses comes right about here. I've got that correct. I just needed to come up here. So I know that this is really dark real close to it because I can see it right here, but there's a little bit of light underneath of it. Darken this up because I want this to almost blend together. Need that lost and found edges here. That's what that's called, in which everything kind of fades out. Okay, I feel like I need to kind of establish where these little swoopies are on her face. So let's go from here to here. Okay, so that's right about here. Okay, that's where that one ends at. Okay, let's do that one. Okay, and then from the corner of her hair to this next one, that really sharp one, that's right about there. Okay, and then okay, I know from there to there. So let's put this in. Like it's supposed to be. Okay, so there we go. We know where that's supposed to be now. And let's take it from there to there. So now I know that's where the peak is. That's where the point is right there. Okay, and then let's get this high point here. Since I'm doing a 1-to-1, it's easy to do. Okay, and then from here to here, here to here. There we go. That's where my peak is, right there. And then we come back down. Okay, see how that went in so easy? Okay, so then this comes up as a really high streak there. So let's find that point right there, and from the corner of the hair on over there to there. So that's where that is, and that is like that. There we go. So now that I'm establishing where all these darks are, then now, because of these nice cream colors, but they're missing in here because I left them so light, but I can come back in later and add these nice creamy colors in a little bit later. Okay, don't lose these nice tans here. Okay, let's see. This is the corner of her mouth here. So we've got this nice little corner here. Going to need to save that, so back that off a little bit. Kind of ease this down here. There we go. Okay, ease this off. I'm gonna put a little bit of the darkness around here, around the bottom of her chin. Okay, gonna come up underneath here. Look at how dark it is underneath here. Okay, same around the nose. Start establishing where these shadows are. Okay, and this will help pull this out here for us. Okay, keep that nice sharp, and a little shadow there, and up in here. Just kind of fade that in a little bit. Okay, now one of the nice things is that as I'm working, I don't have to always have a point on my pencil, because as I'm working it down, when I need a sharp point, I just turn it around and there's my sharp point. So I can come back in and use my sharp point to actually kind of help outline an area. So I don't always have to be, constantly grinding on my pencil. If you hold it correctly, you can always just rotate your pencil and you have a sharp point. Okay, so here we come back to here, and this is where we have this. Okay. Okay, so now we've got some, it's not the ultimate shadow, but it is a little bit more of a shadow. Okay, now we're going to have to darken these down quite a bit because this is a lot darker. It's definitely not as dark as this. This is our ultimate dark, but this is a lot darker than what we've got. So I'm going to be adding some browns to this, definitely, and probably some blues, but I already have some color on here, so I don't want to go to some blues at this point. I just want to add just this basic layer right now. So, but I do want to make sure to get some nice browns up here. So, get that nice base going so I can start working with that. Okay, so let's go back to these glasses here that I have something going wrong on. So, okay. Swivel around again to the point. So I have my point. Ow! Pie whack-it. That hurt. Okay, so I know that my angle was off, and I know this is basically right. It's just that I have this kind of wrong. Okay, so now this is her eye, and then okay. Okay. Now I can come back in later and add more colors into this area here, but for right now I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to go ahead and color it. And the other thing I think I'm going to do while I'm offline, I'm going to go ahead and water this here while we're online. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and darken this down while I'm offline. So this is going to be darkened down into a color high. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use, I think I'm going to use my red and my green actually. So I am going to be using peacock green and crimson red for this area over here because I want to darken it down. Because I want to actually, I've got stuff on the, okay, that explains that. I've got stuff on my monitor, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's, where's that coming from? All right, so let's go ahead and see how we're doing as far as our intensity is concerned. So let's get some water on here. I've got lots of color everywhere, so, and I'm pretty happy with some of the changes I made. But I'm going to have to see how well I've got going on. All right, so let's go ahead and get started up here and do some of this and ease this in to here. Okay. Now I don't want to touch this out here because this is still got some pretty intense colors to it, and I do not want to be dragging that into the rest of the composition, not yet. So that needs to stay dry. So I'm just barely filling my brush with paint, or with water, sorry, so that I can get these pencil marks to start activating. And pushing around a little bit. Okay, let's get this a little activated there. Okay, now what I can do is I can actually pull the color and lift it, kind of squiggle it up, so it actually kind of pulls up into it. Okay? So it actually pulls it like more hair. Does that make sense to you right now? So I'm actually like giving it more texture as I'm working on it. All right, let's start working on the face here. Let's get this kind of going here. I like how brown this is. Probably going to have to put some weight on this when I get done with this, because I'm really starting to get layers on this, and the paper's starting to crinkle up on me. But that's okay. Now, normally I like to have, softer edges than this, but this is a reflection, so it needs to be sharp. So there we go. We're getting what we need. So pay attention to the edges of what you need when you're working on stuff. Whether you need it to be soft or whether you need it to be sharp. Yes, rotate your paper around. Don't be afraid to move it. That's what we do. We don't have to work just completely on, one plane. And because I'm working with a brush that's not sopping wet, the color isn't running really hard, which is nice. If I had a whole lot of water on my brush, then I would start losing some of this. It would start running around everywhere on me. Oops, I got some splatter. Need to get that up. There we go. Okay. And don't be afraid to come in with your tissue paper and do a little blotting. If you think you've got too much, come in and blot a little bit. That'll help pull it up. Alright, so let's do the scary part. Let's do these glasses. So here we go. Okay. So there's the inside of that one. Let's wipe that. There we go. So what I did was that line from her glasses where I misstepped, I turned it almost into a shadow on her face. So that's cool. Okay, so let's now activate this blue over here. So by activating, let me see if I've ever said that, give you my definition of it before. When I activate it, it becomes a permanent part then of the painting. You cannot erase it after it has been watered. So make sure that what you've got there is what you want, because after it's been watered, you can't change it. It's there. Okay, here we go. But until you actually get the water on there, you can erase to a certain extent. Okay? Okay. So that's got all my marks that I made actually watered in. So then once it dries, it basically becomes permanent. You can't make any changes after that. So here we are. Let's see how well we did. Yep, definitely gonna have to put lots of more layers of color here. This is looking pretty good. Gonna need to warm that up over here though, aren't we? Because that's definitely a lot warmer of a color. Definitely going to need to start warming up some of these areas on her face. So we're going to have to start working in some warmer colors, but that's okay because that's what I wanted at this point. So we can start warming up this side, cooling down that side to help giving us this three-dimensionality that I really like in my work. Okay, and so while I'm offline, after I let this face dry, because this is actually still wet right around her face, gonna let this dry, and then gonna come in with my red and my green to darken this down. But again, don't want it as dark as this, but I do want this to be darkened a little more. It's just a little too blue in here. I need this to be knocked back a little bit. So I'll do this offline and water it, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll get back to our face and we'll warm that up and start putting in some more warm colors, and we'll see if we can't really get this to start coming together for us. So we're gonna go ahead and let this dry out, and I will see